Coming up on the channel today, I'm going to answer a question that I see on vinyl forums quite a bit. I've actually had it in the comment section of this channel, and I've had it on our own vinyl Facebook page. Why own so many records? I see people asking each other that question all the time. I'm going to give you my answer coming right up. Hey, it's Russ from the Infectious Groove Podcast and Vinyl Channel. And if you haven't already, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button on the channel, or at least maybe drop a like on the video. It helps us out a great deal. In the intro, I mentioned we do now have a vinyl Facebook group. There's a link for that in the comment section below, or in the description below. Please make sure to hit that, join the group so you can discuss your own records and everyone else's records with all of us over on Facebook. But today's topic comes from one of those things that I see on a lot of other vinyl pages, and I've seen other people in the vinyl community cover it quite a bit, is why own so many records? You know, this is not a contest. You can only listen to so many records. Why do you own so many records? And I don't think, I've had a couple of people ask me in the comments below, not in a derogatory way, of some of our other videos, but I see people asking other people on vinyl Facebook pages and in forums a lot, so I thought that I would go ahead and do a video explaining a little bit about why I feel the need to own as many records as I do. One thing I want to clarify right off the top is, and I've said this in several videos before, I don't collect any records for the value of it. This is an investment for me. Whether I have an album that since I bought it has skyrocketed in price, or stayed at the $5 to $20 that I bought it for, I don't care either way, to be honest. For me, every single record that I purchase, I have to love something about it, and when the price goes up, I still play all of them as much as I did before. I treat all of them very well, whether it's a $5 record or a $500 record. So I'm never too concerned about devaluing any of the LPs that I have, because I take good care of them. So for me, I own them all for the music that I love, and that's why I want to own them. They're not an investment or something that I hope is going to go up in value or am planning, to sell off in the future. So why own so many in the first place? Well, there's a lot of reasons for me personally. Number one is diversity. Ever since I was a little kid, and if you've listened to the Infectious Groove Podcast, you've heard me talk about this a great deal. I've always been into an insane amount of music. There's very few genres and very few artists overall that I can outright say, I absolutely do not like that genre. I do not like that artist. There's just a ton of music out there that I genuinely love. I've often said to my wife and friends that I wish I didn't like as much different music that I love, or as many different artists that I love, because then I could cool it a little bit. Or every Friday, I wouldn't be going, I gotta go to the record store because this, and this are coming out. And usually 4 different types of fans would be there for those records, but there I am buying all of them. So I've always just had a very diverse taste, and because of that, it ends up with me being like, I gotta own that too. I really love that artist or that song, or I've been waiting for a repress of that album. So that's probably the number one thing that gets me into trouble with buying records, is being into so many different types of artists. Number 2 is, and I'm not this way with many artists, but I am with certain artists who happen to have a big catalog, is being a completionist. Being a completionist has really ended up putting probably, just at a guess, another 100 records into my collection than I normally would have had. Artists like Pink Floyd and Prince come to mind off the top of my head, where now I don't profess to own anywhere near everything that's available on vinyl by either of those artists, but of their studio records at least, what is available on vinyl, I've gone out of my way to get, because I'm an enormous fan of both of those bands. Now, I want to be clear about something. When I say completionist, and I will cover something to do with Pink Floyd in a second. With Prince, I don't buy whatever studio record is put on vinyl by him just because it's Prince. I happen to like a great deal of the music that he's done, and almost every single album, even the ones that people that are maligned from, like the late 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s. On all those records, there's at least one or two songs that I genuinely love, and so I end up getting those. And the man was prolific and put out so much work that ends up happening to add a bunch of records to my collection. Pink Floyd, I am 100% guilty of purchasing albums just because Pink Floyd is on the cover. I've talked about it in other videos. I did a shootout between the original version of Delicate Sound of Thunder and the 3LP remix and remaster. And to be honest, a lot of the Pink Floyd releases that have come out since that Delicate Sound of Thunder remix and remaster, I've kind of felt the same way about, but Pink Floyd is such an integral part of my life and has been for the 30 years that I've been into the band, that anything Pink Floyd puts their name on and puts out on vinyl, I'm most likely going to buy. I realize that makes me part of the problem with some of these releases that get out, but it's just the one artist I do it with. So being a completionist overall ends up getting me into trouble and buying so many more records. Another reason why I have as many records as I do is as I have been collecting for a long time, and vinyl used to be a far more affordable, I don't want to use the word hobby, but ability. You had the ability to get into vinyl much easier, even 5 years ago, let alone 10, 15 years ago, because it was a much more affordable format back then. Now, I understand that, we have the economy is going to change and things are going to rise in price naturally. I understand that, but over the past even 3 years, vinyl has got so expensive, and it's been covered by many, many other of the much bigger vinyl channels out there, the rise in cost of vinyl. But there used to be a time where I could walk into the record store, and like I say, because of the diversity, there was 3, 4, 5 albums that I wanted from wildly different artists, and you could pick those up for, $18.99, $21.99 a piece. And those same releases now are $28.99 or $31.99 a piece for single LPs. So I find myself being a lot more selective in the past 2 years at least. So I'm probably going to slow down a great deal, but I was able to buy a great amount of what I already wanted back when it was more affordable. And hopefully the prices come down. I can start taking more chances on some blind buys. I can think of some blind buy albums that I love that maybe here now today I wouldn't take a chance on because of the price. So, but because of the fact that it used to be less expensive for a long time, that was another reason why I purchased a lot of the records that I did. Another reason why I have so many records, and this kind of leads to Prince to some extent, and other artists, but these special super deluxe editions that have been coming out, which I'm super thankful for, take up a lot of room. Again, Prince alone, the 1999 box set is 9 LPs long. The Sign of the Times box set is 11 LPs long. You get some of the Beatles stuff, the Black Sabbath stuff that's come out in the past 3 or 4 years. These are 6, 7 LP sets. U2, I can think of so many that, you're buying one title, but you're ending up with 7 or 8 records, So that is another reason why you turn around twice and sometimes you go, oh, my bins are so much more full than they should be, because you have so many records in these one title super deluxe editions. The last thing that I want to touch on is a thing that I see a lot in the community, and I totally get this concern, is people say, well, if you have so many records, there's only so much time in the day. There's how can you even get around to listening all that? You must be collecting just to collect. And again, none of this I don't feel is directed at me personally. There are people with collections that dwarf mine, many, many, many people, and I just see it a lot of times. And again, I don't think there's any ill will meant when someone asks that. I think people are just genuinely curious. And the one thing that I have going for me, and I would strongly encourage anybody who watches the channel to do this, is for the last 9 years, we've been having people over to our house every Friday night. I mentioned this a lot on the podcast. I've probably mentioned it a few times on the channel here. But we have people over to our house every Friday to spin records. And I openly encourage people to dig through the bins, and we play so much stuff on a regular basis that I probably wouldn't just go grab on my own. If you're a fan of vinyl, if you're watching this video, you probably are. You know that you usually get stuck sometimes in the same patterns. You kind of listen to the same records over and over, or the same genre, or a lot of the same artists. And I find that by sharing my collection with people and having people over to just let them go and find what they want to listen to, I find that on a regular basis I spin a lot of albums that maybe I bought 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago that I haven't played in a long time, but it gets exercised, it gets used, thrown on the turntable and enjoyed because someone else liked it and their mind is working different than mine. So whereas I might continue down the line of playing whatever, all 90s rock or something, somebody pulls out the singer-songwriter from the 70s, or a pop band from the 80s, and we get to listen to that diversity. And it gets to exercise my collection more, and I end up spinning these albums that I bought instead of them just sitting in the bins, never getting played normally. So that is a little bit about my answer to why so many records. I see the question all the time. I love to answer it for myself because I do feel like I have some solid reasons why I have so many LPs. As I covered at the beginning, I'm not collecting just to collect. I've got quite a few reasons why I do what I do with my collection. So I always want to hear from you. As I said at the top of the video, if you're not subscribed, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to join us over on Facebook, there's a link below for that. But what matters most to me in all these videos, and I know I say it a lot, but it's true, is the discussion. So whether or not you join us over on the Facebook page, make sure to drop a comment on this video. Let me know where your collection's at, why you collect as much as you do, why maybe you don't buy a whole bunch more records. I'm interested in the whole discussion. So please make sure to leave that comment below. As I always say in these videos, and I very much mean it, thank you so much for watching.